Hello, it's the Way Show. My name is Wole. Thank you for joining us on this rather cold Sunday, where I am in London, England, United Kingdom. Um, it's another Sunday, and it's always great to present this show to the live, and obviously to talk about what's happening. Okay, how was your weekend? Sorry, your weekend and the week past. Hope it was good, and hope you were staying safe still at this pandemic era that we've got. That's COVID-19. So if this is the first time you're joining us, don't forget to subscribe to the show. Have a look at what we've done in the past. Okay, look at our previous videos. If you do like them, yes, give us a thumbs up, and obviously like them, and tell someone about this show. Okay, tell your friends, tell your families, and always keep a date with us every Sunday, 8 p.m. GMT. Okay, it might be 9 p.m. where you are, where you're watching us right now, or what other time. All right, it's about this time, YouTube Live. So today, I've got someone very interesting on the show, someone with a very unusual profession. Okay, a combination of roles, and a man of many talents, great talents, I must say. Today, I have got with us, and I'm very honored to have this person with us, a soldier, not just a soldier, an officer and a gentleman. Okay, he's going to be telling us quite a lot about his literary skills today. Okay, we're not going to be talking anything about his soldiering profession. We're just going to be talking about his literary creative skills. He is a poet, he's an author, he's an engineer, he is a life coach, he is a relationship therapist. He is, like I said, a man of many arts. Okay, his name is Brigadier General Dele Arogundade of the Nigerian Army. General, thank you for joining us on the show today. I know it's always very busy. You're always a very busy man, but you've taken time to join us on the show today, and we're very appreciative. We're honored to have you on this show. Thank you. How are you today, General?
Yeah, fine. Thank you very much, Oli. It's a privilege, and I feel highly honored to be on the show tonight.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us. Today we're just going to be talking about um, a role that you've grown to embrace aside your soldiering career. You are a poet, an author, also an engineer. It's a very terrific combination. How do you cope with all those hats, on your head?
Oh, well, actually, I've had to answer this type of question on many occasions. And I would say, basically, it has been the grace of God. Because sometimes I wonder how I'm able to do all this. And the interesting part is that I have no literary background, but I write poems, I write prose, and I also act. I'm an actor, and I've acted
Wow.
in different countries. Wherever I go for courses, wherever I find myself, I just write and I play out the skits.
Wow, that's very, very interesting. So hopefully one day we might be seeing you in Nollywood, or probably
Maybe by the time I drop the uniform, I might consider that. Yeah.
So tell us, you said you're a poet. I've read a bit of some of your poems. Very interesting. What inspired you into doing all this? I mean, and I know it's always a very busy time for an officer and a soldier in the profession you are. What inspires you? What inspired you into picking up a pen and the paper or a book, so to say, to drop off all these words? Just very interesting, inspiring words.
All right. I think I am writing has always been part of me, and I think right from when I was in primary school, I just discovered that I could write. And in fact, there was one interesting incident that happened. I think I was in primary five or so. I wrote an essay, and my teacher gave me 30/30. And my mom, of
Wow.
blessed memory now, was shocked, saying, "No, no, 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 my son, he cannot get 30/30. Does he know everything?" And my teacher confessed, said, "What Dele has written, I cannot write it." That's on the writing aspect. So, but along the line, I just found out that these things drop, and I just put them down. But by the time I entered the academy, I think around 1994, thereabout, in my third year. That was when I wrote my first documented poem titled Army Is It? And that first poem was published in the Valiant magazine then, that had been published in Soldier magazine and many other magazines. So I get inspiration from virtually everything. But oftentimes when I travel, I get a lot of inspiration. The environment speaks to me. There's hardly any country that I've visited that I've not written about. Malaysia, Kenya, Jordan, Pakistan, various countries I've traveled to, I write about them. So you see that my poems are more or less like, it can be like my life journey, so to speak. It just drops. It just drops. I don't struggle to write. It just drops and I put them together. And along the line, I just started, fine-tuning them to make them in a way that is presentable for people to read and gain some things.
And some, I know in the past when obviously I was in the higher institution, we had lecturers that were obviously very good poets, very good authors and writers, who were our teachers, so to say, that time. And some of them say, just like you mentioned, when you go to different countries, you get inspiration from there. Some of them have had occasion to speak with them, and they say, sometimes I'm in the bathroom, having a shower, and words just come, to my brain, and I just rush out of the bathroom and quickly jot them down. Do you get those moments in your career at some point?
Yeah,
or is it when you're asleep?
No. Sometimes when I'm asleep, I wake up with a poem. I'm always having a paper and a biro very close to me if my phone is not close by. So whenever it comes like what they call rivulets, like a flow. And I always get a nudging that, yes, this is coming. And if I don't have a book, I'll just take any piece of paper and I start writing. Sometimes they come like puzzle pieces. So when I write, then after I will just be fixing them and arrange them so that it can flow. But it comes at any time. I know when the nudge comes, and I just write. But sometimes I expect you to, like anytime I'm traveling, I know whenever I have some peaceful moments, I'm able to reflect and I just begin to write. The environment literally speaks to me. I start seeing things and I begin to pen down. So most of my poems are things that you can relate with because they come from an inspiration.
And obviously, you said you've been to all those countries. Also, in war situations, do you sometimes have a look at things that are going on, and then you try to write about it at the time when everything's about settled? For example, I'm not sure now. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure if you served in Sierra Leone at some point.
Yeah.
You did, sir. Okay, all right. So, the environment that time, the gory details, the way things were at that time. How did that shape you to put down things for people to now learn from, and in years to come and look back at and be like, oh no, we don't want this to happen again?
Yeah. I wrote Wake Up Salon that in my first book, Perceptions Unabridged. And I wrote it when I was in Sierra Leone, Wake Up Salon. If you can recall in history, there's this university in Sierra Leone. I forgot the name.
Forabe College.
Forabe College. And I visited Forabe College. And when I visited Forabe College, it gave me inspiration to write about Salon. It was a place where people from all over Africa, like our own Nnamdi Azikiwe, the former, I think the first president of Nigeria, was a student in that school. And people come from various countries in Africa. But this was Salon that time. But as of the time I went there, Salon, they had more illiterates than literates because of the war. You understand? So I wrote Wake Up Salon, So that's that. I wrote also about peace in Liberia. And I was encouraging them that they should drop their arms. They have natural resources, they have brains, people that are brilliant. Why don't they drop things? That Mother Africa was crying, peace, give peace a chance. Lay down your sword, lay down your arms, and embrace peace. Come together, you are brothers. So and with that, it was a kind of encouragement to the people of Liberia that you don't need to go to war. You can sit down and resolve. There's a way you can resolve your conflict without having to shoot. So the same thing I wrote about Sudan, Khartoum. I was a peacekeeper in Khartoum, and when I came to Khartoum, I saw things, and what I was hearing, Khartoum was like the drum beats of peace, not of war. I came to keep peace, but I was hearing Khartoum. And I discovered that in Khartoum, they have the red and they have the blue and white Nile, a confluence town. Beautiful city, very beautiful city. But wars does not make a place to be what actually is meant to be. So that's it.
How do you reconcile the paradox in what you've explained to me now? You are a soldier, yet you use your pen to write about peace, about beauty, about hope, about the future, about brightness. So how do you reconcile that? And because people watching might say, "Oh, he's a soldier, he's an officer. Why he's supposed to talk about war? Why is he talking about beauty? Why is he talking about peace and all that?"
Yeah, I tell people, I say I fight war with the weapon of peace. You understand? And I've had situations where I've had to use what they call alternative dispute resolution methods to resolve conflicts. You understand? I might not be able to go into details, but in actual situations, in operational situations, I've had cause to intervene, just by speaking. There's a way that you can appeal to the emotions of a man, and he will prefer to talk and that is part of emotional intelligence. You understand? So it plays out. It plays out.
And you've got a massive collection of poems coming up again. The last one, Perception Unabridged, was a hit. Because people read it. I've asked a couple of people that have read it, and they had very brilliant things to say about it. I've done a bit of research on it. I saw some of the poems, and I was like, wow. So we still have people like this, even though they're in the army, doing wonderful things, and to think this person is an engineer, not even English scholar or literature scholar or whatever. So for him to write stuff like that must be brilliant. So tell us about something about everything.
Yeah, something about everything actually is, I would say something about everything. Because the title came up at a later stage, actually. But when I looked at the poems that I've written, talking about various things, like they're like into 7 parts: cloudy matters, eulogies, random vibes. I write on virtually everything. I look into the skies, I see rain dropping, and I start writing a poem about it. You understand? Eulogies to people, my mom, my mother-in-law, colleagues that died in the battle, my soldiers. You understand? Then other areas, everyday issues, like War Within. One of the poems there, and that War Within was talking about somebody that went for lectures, and he was very hungry. He went to a bukateria, took some wraps of moi moi, and before you know it, his stomach was turned, and he had to get to the room, and it was just stooling, War Within, so on various issues. And one very important poem that I write and intrigues people is the Madiba shirt. Who is Madiba? Madiba is Mandela. And Mandela was known for his peculiar shirt. And people, when I went to South Africa, I traveled on vacation to South Africa, and I decided to find out a little more because I love those shirts. I had some of them, a couple of them, and I wanted to find out. And I found out that there was a story behind Mandela's shirts. The shirts actually originated from Indonesia, was given to him as a gift in the 60s by Suharto, the Indonesian president. Yeah, but he now went to prison, where he was wearing prison clothes. Then in 1994, when he was being released from prison, there was this fashion designer who was just managing to survive. Her name is Destre, and a South African. She now thought, what gift can I give to the president who is just coming in? She now, I don't know how it came about, but she got that kind of shirt, made it, and she now put it, packaged it and gave it to one of the bodyguards of Mandela, that he should give him while he was doing this rehearsals, like 2 days to his inauguration. And Mandela loved the shirt. Mandela requested for this woman, and that's how Mandela decided that he needed a signature to show that he was now free, a signature of hope that is no longer wearing tie under colonial era. And that's how the Madiba shirts came about. And he sold a lot of them. And that's how I started throughout the left. And eventually, the Madiba shirt became a fashion statement. And I wrote about it in the book.
Wow, that's very insightful, because we never. I'm sure I never knew about that. I only knew that Madiba always wear this shirt. Well, thank you for the update, General.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And so this new collection of poems is going to come. It's going to be launched, so to say, or revealed in February 4th. Is in Lagos or in Abuja?
No, it's in Abuja. It's at the Nigerian Army Resource Center in Abuja.
Okay. And are you going to have anyone to review this collection?
Yes. Yes. The poems are to be reviewed by Mr. Odion Bello, the chief executive of Clearview TV.
Okay. Okay. All right. That's good. That's good. So you've been writing poems, and you've had a collection of poems. Yeah. You did say that you're also an aspiring actor. Okay, you've acted, obviously. What have you?
I've acted at least. I think now, in fact, I have a collection of what I call the Acts of Dele on a DVD of stage plays I've done over the years, as far back as 2006.
Wow!
In Pakistan and some other countries. Yeah.
I was just going to ask: are we going to see a situation, maybe when hopefully you've called it a day in the Nigerian Army, when you probably transit into being a script writer, a professional script writer, and you have your scripts or probably your collection of poems, you probably transfer it into a script, and we'll be sitting back one day and watching it on Nollywood TV or probably Netflix, and we'll be saying, that's Dele Arogundade. I know that person. Are we looking at that?
No, actually, yes, there are plans for that. We have been talking, and I'm looking at animating some of the poems, and I write scripts also, and hopefully I plan to make them into videos and Netflix. Yes, I want to be all what I can be. That's just it. To express myself in any way that I feel comfortable.
Growing up, when we were in secondary school, we read about the great Wole Soyinka, we read about J.P. Clark, we read about the Senghor and what have you, and we seem to be losing that fact now in Nigerian schools. People don't tend to probably want to read anymore. People are shying away from reading. All we care about now is the social media and what have you. What can we do to go back to feeding our brains, literally, with poems like yours, poems that we grew up on, poems that would never disappear, poems that tells us about who we are, first and foremost, as a proud Nigerian, as a proud African, as people who should showcase our talents to the world. Do you think we've missed it somewhere as a country in our educational curriculum? Should we be going back into that and promoting poetry right from primary school all the way to, secondary school and universities, or what have you?
Yeah, I think actually we missed it along the line, and it's necessary for we to go back to it, because readers are leaders, and everybody is being trained to become a leader one way or the other, and we need to go back to this. And it's one of the things that actually I'm advocating for. I do organize reading sessions, book reading sessions, even for my soldiers. You understand? And when I published my first book, I was a commander then, and one of the things I told my soldiers, I gave them the books free, but on one condition, that you must read the book, and if you have children, allow your children to read the book. The Perceptions Unabridged was like a basic book, and it was recommended for secondary schools. So it's something that people can read and understand. That let your children read. It is actually educational. When they read this book, they are informed, they are educated, and also the way they are entertained. And so it's one of the areas that we really need to look at. The social media has not really contributed much, and generally the educational standard in Nigeria, especially, has not been what it ought to be. But as I said, personally, I'm advocating for that. Like what I did, I was in Jos. I just left Jos last year, and there was a library that was being formed, and I made sure I donated some of my books to that library to encourage people to read. And whenever I have the opportunity to give talks, I encourage people that you must read. You can never get ahead in life if you are not a reader. It helps a lot, not just your books in the classroom, fictions, other things, so that you are knowledgeable. Because if you are not knowledgeable, you cannot discuss in an environment. You cannot talk, with confidence.
That's brilliant. Tell me about this the support from your family. What do your family think about your the other side of your life? I mean, being a poet and an author.
Yeah, I can say that everybody in the family is proud of me. My mom, especially, of blessed memory, she passed on last year, but she's been a great encourager. When I was in secondary school, she used to make me write her speeches when she has to go for inter aspect or something. Yeah, she believed in me that much. After I was able to convince her, and it's been wonderful. My dad too is alive. He was in the army, so seeing his son become a general and also writing, he's been so excited. My siblings do the same thing. So the support has been tremendous because they just see Dele as a unique person, and I just give all the glory to God because it's not because I wanted to, but I just thought I could do so many things, and I just, spread my wings and I saw.
And what's the encouragement like from the army? I mean, there was some very great predecessors of yours that are brilliant poets, and someone like Brigadier General Dele for late General Mamanjia Baksa.
Yeah,
what's a great poet.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
what's this thing about army people and tradition and writing? What is it about?
Yeah.
What's it about?
Yeah, and I can tell you for free that there are quite a number of army officers that can write, although many because of the pressure of the job. It took me 23 years for me to publish my book. But I tell people that you need to remain tenacious. I held on that, no, I must be it. This thing will not just end up just in my library or something. Like late General Dele was a mentor to me, because when I started writing, I was privileged to see him, to meet him one-on-one. He was the director of Army Public Relations before he passed on. And just about a month or two before he passed on, we had a discussion. And I was telling him about, I said he used to write, but because of the job and all the rest, he was the one that inspired a poem I wrote in Perceptions Unabridged, the Yellow Fever. He told me, he said, Dele, please, I want you to write something about this yellow fever guys that stay on the road and, the dangers and all the rest. So when he passed on, I had not finished the poem before he passed on. When he passed on, I now completed the poem. And in the book, I dedicated the poem to General Dele. So, and concerning issue of support, I can say personally, I've received a lot of support in the army, concerning my book. When I was to launch my book in 2017, the immediate past Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Brig, retired, was of tremendous support. Even gave me a letter of commendation. He bought some of the books and distributed to secondary schools, and he was so impressed that you are an engineer, you have no background in literature, and you are writing. So, I've gotten a lot of support. And even this one I'm launching, an approval was given to me that I should go ahead with the public presentation and everything. And probably he would have been there if he was still in service, but he just left now, and he had to go and take some time off. But honestly, they have been supportive of my effort, and which I am grateful to the Nigerian Army for the support.
And obviously, we can only say thank you to the Nigerian Army for producing such an intelligent person like yourself. It still baffles me because I'm having a look at the comment section of people watching, and people have been like, someone Kemi Alfonso said, this is truly unique. I mean, for an engineer, I keep saying it, an engineer with no background in writing to write all these massive books. I'm sure I should just go and cover my head in shame because after studying massively, I know in the past I've written some poems and I just thought, who is going to read this one? I threw it in the bin, you know. What do you say to people upcoming, and people like you said, in the armed forces that are probably got this talent, or they might not be in the armed forces. They might have studied English or literature, mass comm, what have you, and they have this talent. It's hidden, and they're thinking, "Ah, who's going to read this thing, concept?" What do you say to them?
Yeah, what I will say to them personally is that never give up on your dreams. Never, never, never. You see, there are three P's that are very, very crucial, which I tell people that they are interconnected: the potential, the process, and the product. The potential, the process, and the product. Every human being is born with potentials. Even at least one. It's just like the talent we talked about in the Bible. Everybody has a talent. You need to discover that talent. You don't create it, you discover it. Once you discover it, the process now is for you to hone it. Get trained. Read. I read a lot. I attend courses a lot to make myself, because I knew that I had this potential, I need to hone it and to become a product. The first set of books that I wrote, Perceptions, before the first set I wrote, I printed them in the UK. You understand? And I distributed them free of charge. There was no launching, no public presentation. I was trying to send a message across that Dele is not an hungry author. Dele just wants to be heard. It costed me money, but I gave it out free. So people should discover themselves, what talent you have, and hold on to it. Hold on to it. Because you see, I met a professor, Professor Shofison. He's a reputed professor of English in UI. And I told him, I said, sir, I read engineering, so I don't see myself as a poet. He said, you are the real poet because you write out of inspiration. Some people go to school to read literature so that they can write. They try to force things to be. But you are the true poet, because I can see what you are writing is coming from a system. It's like from a well, and that is real poetry. So continue what you are doing. So what I want to advise people is that don't bother that nobody will read. No, just keep writing. It took me 23 years, but I tell people coming behind, you don't need to stay that long, because I had a lot of up and down, before I stabilized. But no, just know the giftings that you have will pave way for you. It's like a king. Every king has a kingdom. Do you understand? And when you stay in your kingdom, that is when you can reign. A king does not beg for honor in his kingdom. You understand? I have seen it that even though I read engineering, but when I write poetry, even other poets will look and say, oh, you mean you wrote this? They wonder, but it's a natural talent. And in life, I tell people, you see, what God has put on your inside, that is the real you. So every other thing is by the wayside. What I have achieved as an engineer is not as much as what I have achieved as a poet. But you see now, I'm across the world now writing poems. But as an engineer, I'm in Nigeria and I do some work as an engineer. But it has not really sold me, so to speak, like literature. So what is very important is self-discovery. I wrote a book last year, is mainly an ebook. How to make your passion pay your bills. How to make your passion pay your bills is available, and also 7 practical steps to surviving, to thriving in the workplace in the COVID-19 era and beyond. These are things based on practical experiences. You understand? So my passion has actually paid my bills so many ways, and so there's so many instances. I've worked at the highest level in Nigeria because of writing, much more than engineering. Engineering, yes, I'm an engineer. I practice engineering. I work in the workshop and all the rest. But writing has taken me to greater heights. So when I saw that this was my major strength, my main strength, I just zeroed in and I began to develop myself. I attend courses and everything to make myself better in the area, so that whatever I present is acceptable to the world.
It's brilliant. General, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll obviously talk about the other aspect of your role, which is a life coach. And we just want to bring about the issue of youth empowerment in Nigeria. What's the way forward for our youth? There's so many of them that are unemployed. They don't know what to do. And as a life coach, we just want to tap into your talent, into your advice for them, because most of them will be watching this program, not just in Nigeria, in Africa, in the UK, in America. They'll be watching, and they're probably thinking, I'm at the crossroads now in my life. Where shall I go? Okay, so we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be discussing and another thing, General. I will implore you. We want to tap into some of your poetry reciting skills. You probably will be doing that for us on this program. Some of you. So get ready before we close. Before we close the program, you will be doing that for us. So we go on a quick break. I will come back.
Okay.
Stay there, and it's still the way show. We'll be back soon.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining and for staying tuned to the Way Show. My name still remains Wole, and I've got with me, I've had an interesting chat with our guest today, who is a poet, an author, a life coach, a relationship therapist, an actor, an officer and a gentleman, Brigadier General Dele Arogundade. Again, General, it's an honor having you on the show today, and thank you for all the brilliant things you've said about what's been happening so far, especially with regards to your writings and the way you inspire people. Before we went on the break, we were talking about the youths, okay, and Michelle Odudu is joined us from LinkedIn, and she said the youths needs more organizations to support their passion, like that of Illuminus. Yeah. And she also mentioned that it's brilliant how you use your passion to pay your bills. Looking at the youths of today, especially around the world, let us zero in on Nigeria. We see quite a lot of them. There's this old saying that the idle hand is the devil's workshop. Okay, but if you have the talent, just like you mentioned that at a point in our discussion, if you have that talent and you've discovered that talent, or maybe you now know that talent, you don't have to be idle. But the opposite is the case in Nigeria, especially with the youths. Where do you think, what should we be doing as individuals now? I'm not talking about the government, as individuals to support our youths, to make sure they have a good future, to make sure they are able to rediscover who they are. You know, I think personally, I think the first step to developing is discovering who you are. Okay, if you discover that I am somebody, then it's the first step to, recovering what you probably have lost, or probably moving to the next step of life, next stage of life. So what should we be doing as individuals to help our youth become what they should be, i.e. leaders of tomorrow? If not leaders of tomorrow, but a person in society.
Okay, a lot can be done, and I personally, I do some things, and I also encourage people to do it, and that is issue of getting people to be enlightened, so to speak, awareness. There's another acronym that I have. I call them the 3Ds: discover, develop, and deploy. Discover develop, and deploy. First, the most important thing first is discovering yourself. And I tell people, how do you discover yourself? What are the things? I ask them some questions, and it's in that book, How to Make Your Passion Pay Your Bills. Because these are things I've practiced in my own life, and I've been training youth. I've been working with youth for over 20 years, so I deal with them a lot. What are the things that you do find yourself doing effortlessly? What are the things that your friends commend you about? What are the things that you can lose sleep? When you are doing it, you don't want to sleep. Even food, you forget food. Those are the things. Those are pointers to what you have been, made, to do in life. And I tell people that eagles, they don't. When you put an eagle in the ocean, it will struggle. When you put a fish in the air to fly, it will struggle. But when you put it in water, a fish will swim very well. An eagle in the air will fly very well because there's a natural habitat. Every human being has a natural habitat. Your natural habitat might not be what you studied, but is that thing that you can do without any struggle. I'm telling you, personally, in the Nigerian Army, most of the appointments that I've got has been related to my writing skills. Right from when I was a captain, my nickname was General Secretary. I'm telling you. So when I saw this, I said, whoa, this is a raw skill. I have discovered it. I need to develop it. And it has, spread in various ways. So that is the most important. When it might not come very easy for everybody, but you start seeing 3-4 things that you can do, and people say, wow, some is talking, some is writing, some is acting, some is braiding of hair, baking cake, all sorts. Whatsoever that you see that you have a natural passion for, what you are passionate about is most likely an indicator to the problem you are created to solve. You see, I tell people, no two human beings have the same iris. No two human beings. Out of over 7.7 billion people on the surface of the earth, that means the creator put a stamp on everybody. He created everybody uniquely. There's a problem, at least one problem that human beings are meant to solve. So the most important thing is for every individual to discover what you are meant to solve. Everybody. So when they discover, they take time to develop. And I tell the young ones, don't be in a hurry to blow. That's the slang we use in Nigeria. I want to blow. You sing 2 songs. The next thing you are going to the studio. I'm dropping my single. I want to be like Davido. I want to be like this. No. There's time for everything. There's a process. And that's why I talked about potential, the process, and the product. But the process is where they miss it. Young guys want to, I call them the Wi-Fi generation. They want it now. There's a time for everything. So when they're able to do that, discover yourself, you take time to hone yourself, develop yourself, and before you know it, and I even tell them that before you launch out, do what I call, you can do free services, freebies, delayed gratification. When say, because I told you the first books I wrote, I gave them out free. I want people to know that Dele Arogundade has come. And over time, that was in 2012. And by 2017, that was when I launched officially the Perceptions Unabridged. And this is like 4 years after now that I'm bringing out another one. It doesn't have to be every year, rush to just say, oh, because they know me, let me. No. It takes time. But be ready to think big, but start small. And that's my advice to the young ones. And everybody, if they discover themselves, it will not have the problem. But everybody wants to sit. I get a lot of CVs in my office. People come, oh, General, please, I need a job. I say, have you looked inward? Lastly, I met a lady in Jos before I wrote that book that she said she read, I think, biochemistry or so, but she likes tailoring and not the rest. She started learning. And along the line, she said she needed to buy a sewing machine, and I was able to assist her with some money. When coronavirus issue came up, she started making face masks. I'm telling you. And in a short while, she could not even meet the demand that was coming. So at that time, she was not even looking for a job again. She had enough on her hands making face masks. The biochemistry she studied was put aside. So if lesser people are looking for government jobs and they become employers, because when they start doing jobs and they are making money, they start employing other people, and before you know it, the labor market is reduced. But when people want to say, oh, I want to sit in an office, I want to wear tie and everything, no, it doesn't go well. I'm telling you.
I want to go back to something about everything, published by Aqua Publishers.
Okay.
And there was this review done by a colleague in that works for the cable newspaper, online newspaper, Shinwa Kyoe.
Okay.
And in one of the write-ups, and I'm just going to read this, he said,
Okay.
Dele Arogundade, the poet, soldier, and engineer, seemed to have found the way. Okay, in his second poetic offering titled Something About Nothing, Arogundade has finally made a statement. What is that statement?
I think what when we had the interview, I told him that one would have able to prove a point that what I did in 2017 was not a fluke. It was, some people just maybe you got gather things and just drop. But I can tell you that what is coming out after some time after everything, I started working on it. I have some poems already that I am building up already. So it's something that is natural. It's a flow. It's a flow. And one of the things I told him during the interview is that I feel comfortable in my skin, and that gives me fulfillment. I feel very comfortable in my skin. And if young ones can do what makes them happy, I tell people I don't flap. I say it with all sense of responsibility. I'm like an eagle. I don't flap. Flapping takes effort. I soar. When eagles soar, they spread out the wings and they use stalks to fly. It's effortless and they go higher than any bird. But when you flap, you use so much energy. When you want to be like somebody else, you can never be the best. You only be a second best. So everybody was created as an original. They should not die as photocopies. And so I'm Dele Arogundade, and that is me. And so that is it. If everybody can discover themselves and be themselves, be comfortable in your skin, you can get to any height in this world.
In the literary world, and we've got greats, authors, poets. Professor Wole Soyinka is a beacon. Obviously, having won the Nobel Prize for Literature. Who would you say? I know in secondary school, in your literary life as an officer in the Nigerian Army, who would you say has inspired you? Would you see as a mentor, or would you see as I know you're an original, okay? Who would you say I want to surpass this person?
Wow, I think there are quite a number of them, but somebody that I resonate well with, who is a mentor from afar, and one word other, by the grace of God, I've had a few interactions with him, is Niyo Shundari. Niyo Shundari is presently based in the US, and I see a lot of connection. And when I started seeing some of his works, I was wondering, there's some things that we have written like on similar topics. Like I wrote about Lo Stilo, the pen. He has written about it. I wrote about Mystery Board in my last book. He wrote The Aeroplane. I said, but it was later I discovered. I said, no wonder there's a connection between me and this man. So Niyo Shundari, I've read most of his works, and is somebody that really, really inspires me. Amongst others, Professor Wole Soyinka, wow, he's in a class of his own. He's in a different world entirely. In fact, so when I read some of his books, I have to read and read over again. It's in a class of his own. There are no two Wole Soyinkas in the world. That is it. He's in a class of his own, and I give that respect to him. But he's not somebody that I write, in that direction. But Niyo Shundari, I follow very well, and I also tell people, so that people don't get a misconception when you talk about being an original. When you are an original, you can learn from other people. It's important. Yes, you don't know it all. You must start from here and here, learn so that you can grow. But you don't take a mentor who line and sinker and say, I want to be exactly like this. Because everybody has his own weaknesses, everybody has his own strength. But so yours is to pick from them and put it into a form that fits into who you are. So I've learned from a lot of people, contemporary poets and all the rest. I belong to the Abuja Literary Society. I belong to the Association of Nigerian Authors. I learn from them. I attend their shows, I attend their meetings to learn and interact. People like DK Chukwuemeka and all the rest, I interact with them and I learn from them. When they organize workshops, I attend so that I can own my skills, even though I don't try to be like an old poet, but I'm contemporary. I write free verse, but as much as possible, I write things that are acceptable, to literature generally.
And I was also reading when I was researching about your way of writing, and I came upon one word that was consistent with everybody that's read your writing: unconventional. And I look at it and I think about the poems I read when I was in school. I read about former president of Senegal, Senghor, who spoke about negritude, the pride of being a black person. J.P. Clark spoke about his the imagery. I remember vividly, naked I stand before you, Mother Idoto, and I can visualize him. You know, Uncle Wale, my namesake. You know, it's totally on another level. And but your one consistently he says unconventional, meaning you're not conforming to the norm. How do you see? What would you compare your poetry to?
Hmm. I think, as I said, I think I write more like Professor Neo Shindari. Although Professor Neo Shindari is an activist, which I am not, but I think some similarities in what we do. But why I'm not conventional is that you cannot say Dele is, an activist. Dele writes about human rights. Dele writes about, no. I talk about virtually everything. In perceptions, is just the way I see life. So I write on anything, everything, anything that catches my fancy. In fact, what my latest poem is about one of my dogs. Honestly, it's about one of my dogs, and I was sharing my wife that, oh, I've just written a poem about Ruby, and she just laughed. I said, yes. I said, no, Ruby, because she's very peculiar. She's very peculiar. So I said, no, you deserve to have a poem. Like now, another peculiar poem I wrote is the one that was born out of what my daughter too is a poet, and then she's taken after me in various ways. She told me one day when she was like 7 years, say, Daddy, come and see the intestine of the generator. You understand? It takes somebody deep. My mechanic, he was disassembling the generator to overhaul the engine. So the pistons, the connecting rod and everything, he took it apart. So my daughter went to the back and saw him, and she ran inside and said, Daddy, come and see the intestine of the generator. She knows that intestine is what is inside, a human being, and she was able to relate what a generator is to a human being. It takes a literary mind to be able to visualize, is a kind of imagery that she'll be able to paint. And I saw
Yes.
that, oh, yeah, that this was, and I wrote about it. It's in the something about everything. So you can imagine almost anything you see, almost anything that I write about.
I said before we leave you, we would implore you to read out a poem to us, and we'll be so honored. I remember the last time we had a musician here. I said you need to sing some songs for us, and the man, obviously the musician, actually sang a very beautiful song. And for the first, I think probably for the first time in my life, somebody sang a song about Wole, and I was dancing. so,
Well,
so if you can.
classically, there are some set of people now that we refer to as spoken word artists. Those, they perform poems. I don't really see myself in that category. You understand? But I can recite my poem to you, one of my poems to you, if you insist, as most most presenters they would love to do. Okay. I think, let me see. Let me read. Let me see. Okay. I will take With His Wings. It's something. It's a eulogy I wrote to a senior colleague who died on active service some years back, and I wrote this in tears because he was a close guy. He passed on. So I think I will just recite that poem, in his memory. The title of the poem is With His Wings. Always dreamt about the wings, was passionate about acquiring the wings, joined the Air Force in search of the wings. He found the wings, flew across the world with his wings. performed great exploits with his wings, trained and mentored many with his wings, was extremely proud of his wings. Alas, without a sign, he disappeared way too soon with his wings. Adanu Gabriel Ochai, you lived and died with your wings on. Adieu, the exceptional one. He was a commodore in the Nigerian Air Force and he was a pilot. He died in active service. May his soul continue to rest in peace.
Amen. 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 Oh, thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
Though not on a sad note, but we have thoroughly enjoyed speaking with you. When anyone watching this podcast and this show, how can they get their hands or lay their hands on your past works, and obviously something about everything that's coming up that's going to be launched on February the 4th?
Yeah, the Perceptions Unabridged and this something about everything are already on Amazon, so people can order them. Dele Arogundade here. There's a link, and they can purchase them on Amazon.
Good.
Both the hard copy and the soft copy can be purchased.
Okay, General, we want to thank you so much for taking time to come on the show. Like I said, at the beginning, at the middle, we're very honored to have you, and we can only wish you the best. You know, we will be keeping an eye on this literary journey of yours, and
thank you very much.
We pray and we hope that it will come with some massive awards. And we
Amen.
So I say, and obviously say, we brought him to our show.
Yeah.
You know.
Thank you so much, Wole.
We pray and hope that happens. And obviously, we wish you all the very best on the launch.
Thank you very much.
On February the 4th in Abuja. We hope, we pray everything goes well. And just before we go, I'll just take a few words from our comments, people that are watching. IJ said, that poem you recited was a very moving poem. Thank you, Brigadier General Arogundade, she said. Sharon Ayeni said, wow, very, very moving indeed. Thank you so much. We wish you all the very best, General. And hopefully one day when the another new book is coming out, we can bring you on to our show.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
And the new book. Hopefully we will be able to do that. And hopefully when we call upon you, you would obviously hear our call. Thank you so much, General. And
thank you. Thank you,
have a wonderful week ahead. Much love and thanks to your family and of course the officers and men of the Nigerian Army for producing such a fine officer.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Wole, and have a good night. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All right.
So that was a chat with Brigadier General Dele Arogundade. As said, proud of my dear brother Brigadier General Dele Arogundade. Keep soaring. Is that pro? You apologies. I know that's Latin somehow. Well, SS has said that. Boyega Ogunwale said, very refreshing and inspiring. Great job. Thank you very much, Boyega Ogunwale. Thank you so much, everyone that's contributed to this show today. Thank you for all your comments. I'll try as much as possible to read out names. Boyega Ogunwale, thank you. SS, thank you. Sharon Ayeni, IJ, Bolu Olowo, Michelle Odudu, thank you for that great insight and from that great comment. Sandra Sylvester ever present, thank you so much. Kaya Akirimale Oyewumi, obviously said the general is a very it's an inspiration to all of us. Thank you. Ijoma says tenacity is a key. Thank you so much, Ijoma, for joining the show. Bumiomo, great show, he says. As always, learning a lot on the show. Thank you so much. Kemi Alfonso, truly unique. Thank you. Sammy Emmanuel, thank you. Romel Small, thank you for joining the show. Ademola Ade Joye, Expasa, Olajumoke Otonla, loads, loads of people. Thank you so much for joining the show. Please tell somebody about this show, okay? Tell somebody about the show, and make sure you subscribe to the show. Tell your friends to subscribe to the show. We try as much as possible to bring you, important people, just like the general that came just now on the show and spoke glowingly about his literary activities, which was really interesting. So please tell somebody about the show. Don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe to us, okay? So we can be inspired to bring in exciting people to the show. All right. And look to at our past editions, like our videos, and tell someone. Follow us on Instagram too. Okay. Well, of course, we're on Instagram. Yes, and we're also on Facebook. Follow us. All right. That's our show for today. Thank you. Special thanks to my friend and colleague Yomi Omogbeja, who's behind the scene, and make sure that you can hear me, you can see me, and I can read out what you've written. Thank you to Yomi. I can always say, please have a very wonderful week ahead, and do please stay safe. It's still dangerous out there. COVID-19 is still there. Please do stay safe. And I'll be with you next week, God willing, on the Way Show. My name remains Wole. Thank you. Have a good night.